Welcome back to Gen CFB. Lucy is here. We have not gotten to talk about upset week together at all, Lucy, because you've been feeling a little under the weather. And I would be too if I was at the South Carolina-Mississippi game instead of Vanderbilt and Alabama this weekend. Lucy, come on.
Look, South Carolina didn't manage to catch anything. I caught the stomach virus, though. So I am leading the Gamecocks in receptions, and unfortunately it was nothing anyone wanted to catch. It's been a rough week, but I had the thoughts of a beautiful blood week to get me through it.
Yeah, it was a weekend packed with upsets. We're going to talk about all of them and do a recap of next weekend's games. But Lucy, when you're feeling under the weather, I know something that might make you feel better, and that's Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its to settle the stomach.
I didn't try it.
This season, we are recapping all of college football and feeling the cheesiest with Cheez-It. I think they should send Lucy a couple boxes to settle her stomach.
I think they should send some to my dad, too. He did a lot of cleanup, so he deserves some Cheez-Its, too.
Oh, man, Lucy. Well, at least you were back at home and not puking through 120-degree weather down here in Miami, so I guess that's a small consolation.
Yeah, I won't give you the details.
That's okay. Well, we'll go to something that made a lot of people in Tuscaloosa puke instead, which is the Alabama-Vanderbilt game. So I've already talked a little bit about this on the Le Batard Show, but I want to hear your thoughts on this huge upset for Vanderbilt football.
Yeah, so the nice part of South Carolina Ole Miss just being pretty much over by the end of the first quarter is I made my way up to the press box and I said, we're going to watch Alabama Vanderbilt. I think what was so remarkable about this game is that it wasn't that Alabama lost it in any fashion, which, like, obviously they lost the game. Vanderbilt was just so much better. They, just dominated this game. It wasn't some sort of, fluky type of scenario. Vanderbilt kicked their ass. That's awesome. I read that Vanderbilt punted twice, 2 times. Alabama could not stop them. It was just a good old fashioned, you got your ass beat by Diego Pavia.
Yeah, so I think Diego Pavia is such a perfect college football character because he plays at a JUCO, the New Mexico Military Institute, after getting no FBS offers. Then he goes to New Mexico State. Now he's at Vanderbilt with all of his coaches from New Mexico State, who he's credited with a lot of his growth and development as a quarterback and being able to sort of hit the ground running this season at Vanderbilt. And then after the game has one of the greatest post-game interviews of all time with Alyssa Lang, just dropping F-bombs, talking about how turned it is at Vandy. And it was just, like you said, it wasn't fluky. I mean, the pick six that tends to be an odd thing that could sort of go either way. And there are certain plays here and there that forced fumble. Okay. If Alabama falls on that, maybe it's different. But like you said, they scored 40 on Alabama. That's not
crazy.
A fluke. That's just a well-executed offense that really took advantage of Alabama not being able to stop them and keeping their foot on the gas. We've seen a lot of teams in this position sort of play conservative in the second half when they're up big against a highly ranked team. And that never works. Justin Wilcox, I'm looking at you. It doesn't work. And Clark Lee and Vanderbilt, they kept their foot on the gas and they won this game, Lucy. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we move on to another one of the big upsets, Tennessee and Arkansas?
I think it's just remarkable. I'm not familiar with Nashville. I don't think I've ever been. It's weird that I don't know 100% if I ever have been or not. 2.5 miles from the stadium to the river that they threw it in. So I think we should give some extra props for they moved so much further than Alabama did that entire game. The goalpost did.
True. Yeah. Vandy just crushing the time of possession, keeping the offense moving the entire game. Everyone's mad at Kalen DeBoer. He'll get a chance of redemption later on this season. But for Vanderbilt, biggest win in the history of their football program and a huge win for Clark Lee. On the flip side of that, Lucy, a big win for Sam Pittman this past weekend against Tennessee at home. Arkansas unranked coming into this game. Tennessee, the 4th best team in the country in the AP poll. Arkansas ends up winning at 19-14. Tennessee had the chance to go ahead on the final drive. I think they let Arkansas score at the end. I know there was maybe like some debate over that, but then they
let them score.
They got the ball back. Yeah, they got the ball back, and the last offensive drive for Tennessee was rough. Nico Iamaleava ends up running out of bounds with time expiring. Didn't get a throw into the end zone. Didn't throw it away. Nothing. Just runs out of bounds. Lucy, is this just a Tennessee team with a good offense but a young quarterback? Is that what we're watching?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the fairest sort of takeaway from Tennessee. Their defense is very good. Like, it's a little weird to see. I think Tennessee's defense might be better than their offense, which is something that I never thought I would say. That final play was just like the most just like freshman shit ever. And like, I get it, you know? I don't know how to play in that environment. That's like a first time thing. This game felt a little bit more fluky than Alabama Vanderbilt, where tons of injuries happen. Things are just odd in Arkansas. Things are always weird. I don't necessarily want to say that this is like a career saving win for Sam Pittman, because like literally last week we talked about how Sam Pittman was like on the hot seat, but like this definitely bottomed till the end of the season for sure. And I will say, playing Rocky Top as you storm the field.
Oh my God, that was
thick as hell.
Tennessee fans also puking after this game.
Yeah. Shout out to Vanderbilt. Another thing we forgot to mention, playing Nick Saban's soundbite of saying that Vanderbilt's the only easy place to play in the SEC. Great work.
Yeah,
great work.
That was excellent trolling. I love pettiness. This is why we love college football. According to PFF, Nico only was 4 for 14 on throws with 10 plus air yards. That's not great. And like you said, probably a big win for Arkansas, because there's a chance they go bowling now. Like they've got a couple games left on their schedule that they could definitely win and get to that 6-win mark, which after last season would be a pretty big improvement, because last year they only won 4 games the entire season. So that was a huge win for Arkansas, and Tennessee now hosts Florida. Arkansas's got a bye, and then they will move on to more conference play. Lucy, in the same conference, we're talking a lot of SEC today. Oh my God, so many upsets. Missouri and Texas A&M. Missouri is the 9th ranked team in the country coming into this one at Kyle Field, but man, did they look like nothing in this game.
We're going to talk about Michigan a little bit later, but Missouri and Michigan are in the same category for me of like, what are you doing in the top 10? Like, there's nothing that you've done that convinces me you should be in the top 10. They're both just sort of like a category of having great seasons last year. Mizzou misses Cody Strader so badly. Like, their offense is just anemic without him. Texas A&M also has like a phenomenal defense. They're really, really good. They've been so good since that Notre Dame game, and you're already starting to see just like how much of an immediate difference Mike Elko has made for this Texas A&M program. They got their ass beat. There was a lot of ass beating this weekend, just like a ton of it. But like, Texas A&M is better. Mizzou was never a top 10 team to begin with. Mizzou is like, but they're not. I mean,
they almost lost to Vanderbilt. Like, probably should have lost that game.
Happens to the best of us.
Right,
except for Georgia State. It does not happen to Georgia State. It's just like Mizzou hasn't done anything this entire season to like convince me that they're good. Brady Cook has played like shit. Like, I bet Texas A&M money line on the DraftKings app for this game, and I felt really good about it.
Nice.
I did not expect this like level of ass kicking though. Like, A&M just has a really phenomenal defense.
Yeah.
And Wegman played really good for the first time in a while.
Brady Cook finished with only 13 completions in this game, and Texas A&M finished with 5 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Missouri, I would also like to note, because I do like to keep track of these things, kicked one of the saddest field goals I've seen in a really long time while they were down 41-7. Come on, at least like try to score a touchdown. Like, you cannot kick a field goal.
You can't do it when you don't have a thicker kicker anymore either, because at least you're like happy seeing Mevis run out there.
Yeah, right. Everyone's like, oh,
you don't have him anymore, so it's just not fun.
No, it's not fun. And you know what else wasn't fun for Michigan fans? Watching them lose to Washington, the team that they beat in the national championship game. Michigan unveiled a third quarterback, Lucy. A mystery third quarterback appears for Michigan. They lose to Washington 17-27. Big win for Washington. Probably, definitely the biggest of the Jed Fish era, because it's only been like 5 games. But what do you make of Michigan's quarterback struggles, and who do you think their best quarterback is? Will we see all 3 of them again at some point this season?
You know what they say. If you have 3 quarterbacks, then you should only ever run the ball again.
That's a great saying.
That's a saying as old as time. I've been saying this for weeks. Never throw the ball, Michigan. Just don't do it. You're bad at at it. You're so good at the other stuff, so just never throw the ball again. What was weird was going into this game, Washington was favored, so this wasn't actually technically an upset. I mean, you're a top 10 team losing in a rematch of the national championship game.
It's also Michigan going all the way out west factors into it. Yeah.
And this is, I think it's something sort of interesting to think about in the sense of we are going to talk about this following game. I just keep previewing stuff where USC goes all the way to Minnesota, they lose. Michigan goes all the way to Seattle, they lose. Last week, Washington went all the way to the Rutgers, they lost. I do think we are seeing the effects of this extreme
long
travel conditions, having to go sit on a plane for 7 hours and then go play a game in Washington, which is a phenomenal crowd, a really tough place to play. Michigan is just same sort of thing as Missouri, where it's hey, you haven't really done enough for me to really believe that you're a super great team. I know that they have a win against USC, but you have no quarterback.
Now they're unranked though, so that doesn't
now
really
they're
help
unranked.
ya.
It doesn't really mean anything. So I'm curious to see, especially, I know we'll talk about this later. I just keep previewing. I don't know what's up with me.
We've got a lot to get through, Lucy. We're really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, there's so much going on. Where I'm curious to see specifically how does that travel affect Ohio State going to Oregon, because it really has played a difference, and I do think that was part of why Michigan lost this game. I would say the biggest part of why they lost this game is you should just never throw the ball again.
Yeah,
just run the Wildcat permanently. You should never ever. You shouldn't even have a quarterback on the field ever.
Well, the problem with Tuttle and Davis is that they turn it over a lot. The problem with Orji is he's not really a passer. At least if you play Orji, who did start this game, he got benched while they were down 14-0, which makes sense. You want to bring in a quarterback that can maybe throw the football a little to make back some of those points you were down, which Tuttle did, but then they still ended up losing. But at least when you play Orji, you're not risking turning it over, because if Michigan's playing this long possession game, when you have turnovers like that, it kind of kills the game plan. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Washington, they play your alma mater, Iowa, this weekend. Michigan has a bye, and then they're going up against probably still ranked Illinois. So shaping up to be kind of a tough season for Michigan. But like you said, Lucy, they do have the win over USC, which now that USC has lost to Minnesota and lost to Michigan, they have fallen out of the AP top 25. They were ranked 11, though, when they came to Minneapolis to play against PJ Fleck's Gophers. And wow, that was an exciting game. What did you make of the decision for PJ Fleck to punch in a touchdown at the end while they were tied, instead of maybe kicking a field goal and giving the ball back to USC only up 3?
It's kind of what you have to do, especially when you're Minnesota and you're a team that you don't necessarily know if you're going to be able to drive down the field again. That's just not necessarily a given thing for the Gophers. So I feel you have to be aggressive, and that's sort of PJ Fleck's, I don't want to say the way he coaches, but just kind of his general aura of just ah! That's PJ Fleck, just too intense. But you're playing to win. This is a huge win for, you're rowing that, you're elite. You're rowing that boat. You're sprinting up and down the sideline. I feel it was the right call, and obviously it was. You can't bank on anything, especially when you're playing a team like USC, where you guys play a very different style of football. This is a not a program-changing win, because PJ Fleck is still PJ Fleck and Minnesota is still Minnesota. But you needed a win like this. You can't just sort of risk that situation. I think my takeaway from this is something that we talked about way before the season started. Of I wasn't so much worried for Washington and Oregon. Washington's just sort of weird, but how would USC and UCLA adjust to the Big Ten? And the answer is badly. It's not going to be easy. Welcome to Minneapolis, bitch.
I saw definitely clip that. I saw a stat that USC hasn't won in the Central or Eastern time zone since 2012. So that's not
crazy.
Great if you're in the Big Ten. But yeah, to his credit, PJ Fleck was hey, you don't get many chances to beat the number 11th ranked team in the country at home. So we wanted to score a touchdown there. And obviously drama at the end, because initially was not ruled a touchdown, then they overturned it. After the game, Lincoln Riley got into it with some reporters because they asked one of his players if they thought it was a touchdown, and he was like, "That's out of bounds. Don't ask them that," which was typical Lincoln Riley, just getting upset at the media for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, look, I'm going to regret asking this question because it's just going to give me a lot of DMs that I don't actually intend on answering or anything like that. But what has, I don't remember there being some sort of specific incident that made Lincoln Riley hate the media so much. I don't feel
who hurt him?
I don't remember being done so dirty by the media that Lincoln Riley has some sort of reason to feel this way. He just like woke up and was like, I'm going to be an asshole to the media for the rest of my life. Like, and I've never really seen any sort of interaction that's made me think like, oh yeah, that's valid.
That's deserved.
Like,
yeah.
Like he's just like being rude to be rude. And I know for a fact that if I had asked that question, I would have said something. I would have said,
Lucy would have said something.
I would have said something. I would say, I can't understand you when you speak to me in that tone.
Ooh, that I would have been clapping in the back. Yeah, there was another thing like a few weeks ago where reporters were asking about Bear Alexander, and he's like, "There's not a story there." And then the next day it was like, he's redshirting, he's out of here. He's just very, very combative with the media. It's something to keep an eye on because things, I wouldn't say they've completely fallen off the rails. Like I think USC has an opportunity. They will have several opportunities to make up for these losses throughout. It's a long season, all right. Like
yeah, they
it's
have
not
one this
over.
week.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing Penn State. We will get to that. But yeah, things are when the head coach is getting like really angsty about like pretty simple questions. It's always a bad sign. Lucy, we also had upsets with SMU upsetting Louisville, although those are two teams that were like, it was like ranked versus unranked, but like pretty equally in, a lot of like the advanced metrics going into it. And it was a pretty even game sort of until the end. It was tied late. Louisville wasn't able to score at the end. So SMU gets a big conference win there. Syracuse and UNLV. Overtime. The Friday night games this year have been really good, Lucy. I mean, if you're
not TCU Houston, no. Ooh.
Even the Wednesday night game this week, FIU and Liberty going into overtime. FIU they almost upset there. The ending of UConn and Temple was crazy. I think we should bring back Ope of the Week for next week because there's been a lot of Opes going on, but this week we needed to talk about upsets. So we'll save that for next week. And I think we'll get to our preview of Week 7 when we get back.
So this is one of those weekends where in the summer someone will screenshot the slate of games and be like, you better hope there's not a wedding this weekend. And it's living up to it. So to preview this electric week of college football, we are getting nutty with Hampton Farm Peanuts, the official snack nut of the tailgate.
Let's can't wait for this weekend, Lucy. And oh man, I'm so excited that you're going to be eating Hampton Farm Peanut Snack Nuts in Eugene at big game, the Ohio State-Oregon game. Number 2 visiting number 3 in Eugene. Lucy Rohden will be there. If you're there tailgating, go say hi to her. Be in Off Rohden, which you will see later on in this episode. Lucy,
I'm not contagious anymore.
Yeah, she claims she's not contagious anymore, so go up to her and test that theory out. Lucy, this is the biggest test of Ohio State's season so far, playing at Oregon, big conference game. Who do you have in this one, Lucy?
Yeah, this is a game that I am not going to put any money on because I don't trust what I'm going to do here. And the biggest reason I would pick Ohio State, that would just be my clear pick. One, I watched my team get just absolutely demolished by them this previous week, and they were ridiculously good. But it's truly it's such a small little detail, but it's truly just the having to travel from Columbus all the way to Oregon is crazy. That's a lot to do in a week. And so Oregon has played a little bit better. They've kind of played with their food all year long and kept games close against Idaho and Boise State. But just truly, this game is just going to come down to the atmosphere in Eugene. How well can Oregon's offense score? Because obviously that was the issue for Iowa, but they were able to hold Ohio State to 7 points in the half. So I don't know. I'm not picking it, but I think Ohio State. But the more I say I think Ohio State, I think Oregon. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Big Ten teams are 2-9 when traveling 2 or more time zones this season. So Washington and Rutgers, that game it felt weird. Lots of weird turnovers in that one. All the games we just mentioned earlier, where you've seen upsets after a long travel weekend. So I'm with you on that's an interesting trend to keep an eye on. However, Ohio State does come into this game with the best, if not one of the best offenses in college football, according to a lot of the stats. Also the second best pass rush, according to PFF.
They're so good.
So it's going to be a huge test for Dylan Gabriel and the Ducks to score if Ohio State comes out swinging really fast. But like you said, they've had some sluggish starts this season before. So it could be one of those situations where Chip Kelly's like, hey, I got homecoming. I got this Oregon game in a few weeks. I'm going to keep a lot of plays in my holster, not show the world too many things, because I think we can win these first 5 games without really like getting in my bag. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some new stuff from Ohio State's offense in this game. But Lucy, Oregon, they're still solid. They've got a good offense. They've got a good defense. They're the number 3 team in the country right now. And so I think it's going to be a close game. But if you want to go off of the time zone trends, you pick Oregon at home. It's a really difficult home atmosphere. But if you want to go off of like stat sheet for the first half of the season, even despite the fact that Ohio State, like we said, hasn't had a huge, crazy like top 10, top 15, top 20 even game, Ohio State's looking like the slightly better team on paper, but that's why we play the games, Lucy.
Oregon's offensive line, I feel like, is going to be a big thing. They looked really shitty through the first few weeks of the season. They pulled it together against Oregon State. Like, if they can protect Dylan Gabriel, he can make plays. Also, just like, don't even worry about Jeremiah Smith. He's just going to do whatever. Just if you stop everybody else, you'll be chill. You just let him do his thing. Don't even bother. Just put all your resources elsewhere.
Yeah, I think if we're also going off Lucy's record at games, like I have Ohio State in this one. No offense, Lucy.
Oh yeah.
I know Alabama ended up winning that game, but like it's
did
they lost to Vanderbilt the next week, so I think you still cursed them. Just saying that.
Hey, look, I watched Ohio State
Lucy
play this week. Unfortunately, I get what's going on. I get it.
Earlier in the day, 3:30 on ABC, Texas and Oklahoma. Texas is a big favorite in this game, Lucy. And like we said on the show earlier this week, Oklahoma's offense has really struggled this season. So do you see any way in which Oklahoma can win this game despite being a 2-touchdown underdog so far on DraftKings?
Yeah. Yes, I do, but not by any logic or reason, just by the fact that it's Red River and nothing's right at Red River. Like, it's just like the whole aura of that game is super weird. I can't remember if Texas was a big favorite last year, but they definitely were a favorite last year to beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma won that game. This is just like kind of a game where it's like, I hate to say the cliche of like throw the record books out. But
Taylor
like,
just said that in my ear.
Yeah, it's so cliche. I hate saying it, but like,
it's a big rivalry game.
It's the type, and it's a weird game. It's not at a home stadium. It's 50-50. Like, you're at the state fair. Like, there's funnel cake in the air. Like,
there's
something's
like deep fried
off.
Pop-Tarts. Yeah.
Exactly. Deep fried butter. That's what I had when I was there. Yeah, so like Oklahoma's defense is elite enough to win games. Like, they're really, really unbelievably good. Their offense is just like pretty terrible. I don't necessarily know what the quarterback situation is. I think if they start that freshman, they're going to have a better chance. Like, Jackson Arnold is just like
Hawkins. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not the guy. And like, that's okay. Sometimes you just got to move on to your third quarterback, which that's their second, but it was more of a play on Michigan there, or your seventh, who cares? But I would just say that like, I do think Texas is going to win, but Red River is a game that like, you just have to look at and just be like, I don't know. Something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to enjoy watching it. It's going to be fun.
Okay, well, before we go, we've got a couple minutes left. We need to talk about Ole Miss going on the road to LSU. Ole Miss, have they really been tested by a great offense yet this season, Lucy? LSU has a pretty good offense. Like, they're also very high. They're up there with Ohio State in terms of a lot of the offensive metrics. LSU's best defender is out for the season, Harold Perkins. So that's a huge bummer for them. But Ole Miss is a favorite in this game on the road at one of the most difficult stadiums to play night games at, LSU. So do you think LSU pulls up the upset here at home?
Yeah, I actually think it's really possible with this game, just it being that game at Death Valley. Like, that's the cream of the crop. That's the top college football venue in the top time slot. Like, it's really hard to play. Ole Miss got it like turned around against South Carolina. I know South Carolina didn't put up much of a fight. I think like in Ole Miss's loss to Kentucky, they weren't losing to like any sort of prolific offense by any matter of fact. They were just kind of getting destroyed defensively. So like, I don't know. I'm sort of talking myself into Ole Miss right now because I don't think LSU's defense is like
their pass defense
up to par.
Passing defense is bad. Their like EPA per pass is like around like 100th in FBS or something like that.
You know what? I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be honest, and I'm just going to say exactly what I know in my heart. I got no idea if LSU's good or not. I have no clue. I have no context.
To be honest, I think that's a don't act like you know and then be like,
yeah. Okay. So I'm going to base if they're good or not based off wins versus the USCs, Southern Cal and South Carolina, who I also am like, I don't know.
Right. I'm with you on that. Speaking of USC, Penn State going to USC this weekend. They are favored by 5 points on the road. Like we said, it's going to be a long travel day for the Nittany Lions. They got to take a bus to Harrisburg, fly to Southern Cal. Hasn't been great for other teams that have had to make those long road trips. Do you think USC wins at home?
Kind of, yeah. Penn State is 5-0, and they're like the first team in like 4 straight years to start 5-0. And there's always a trend to that. They never finish 5-0. They never keep it going. So this feels sort of like the time things are going to go down. USC bouncing off a loss. Minnesota is just, kind of tough, hard PJ Fleck pill to swallow. I don't know. I feel like the vibes are saying USC is going to win this game. I think it'll come down to can the Penn State big plays that we saw earlier in the year translate against a much improved USC defense.
Yeah, watch out for the Penn State lack of or abundance of explosive plays on offense, but also Penn State's interior D linemen, very good, and USC's offensive line didn't look very good last weekend against Minnesota. That might be something to watch out for.
They're bad.
Lucy, before we go, South Carolina, Alabama, Cal at undefeated number 22 in the country, Pitt. Anything else that you want to? Any other upsets you want to call before we go?
No.
All right. Well, I do want to watch something that was upset, which was your tummy, because we're going to toss it to Off Rohden now. And little did you know you had a stomach virus this whole time.
Yeah, well, you can see. Guess who gave it to me? We don't know. We don't know who in this video gave me the stomach virus.
Tweet your guesses at us, Jessica Smetana, Lucy Rohden. Here's Off Rohden.
What does your shirt say?
Well, she loved the Cocks, but, go Gamecocks.
Hi, Dan. We are here in Columbia, South Carolina for the Ole Miss South Carolina game, and we're going to talk to all these grown men about how much they love Cocks. Dan, this is one of my favorite college football traditions. I don't actually believe it's a tradition. I think it's just like a happy little coincidence. The Columbia Farmers Market on Saturdays before game days. I don't know why we haven't figured out the Farmers Market football combo. Perfect. Literally perfect. These SEC schools always have so much tradition, so much history, and they are just some of the most beautiful college campuses you'll ever see. So over here, we have this empty lot. Can't get anything like that elsewhere. A bunch of what looks to be abandoned cars and factory and warehouses. Stadium, actually pretty cool. Over there are like trucks, shipping trucks. That looks like a law office. I don't know. I can't confidently say. Could also be an accounting firm. And this is SEC country. Look at all these chickens. So these are the Cockaboose railroad cars. Is that the proper term? I don't know. So all these rich South Carolina fans buy these and tailgate in them. Are they beautiful to look at? Absolutely. Vibes? Bad. Not good. I'm just gonna say it. I like Clemson better. So this is supposed to be a chicken. This is the head, or this could be the tail, and this is the head. Vice versa, I don't know. The chicken. I want to go home. It's hot as It's not fun. This is the least SEC school that we've been to out of all the SEC schools. Oklahoma, more SEC than this. About an hour into this tailgate, and we go on these trips with the intention of showing you what makes each of these schools special. And when it comes to what makes South Carolina special, not they should call it Mid-Carolina. The Mid-Cox. Do you embrace the Cox nickname?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I mean, as a man, there's nothing better than a cop. The Cox, that gives some energy. That gives some energy.
Finally, some energy!
Yeah. Who the f*** is Clemson?
I'm a Clemson fan. Come on! I'm a Clemson fan. C-L-E-M-S-O-N-T-I-G-E-O-R-N. Fight Tigers, fight Tigers, fight, fight, fight!
USC! 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 USC!
I wish they had chosen Cock Commander as the name of the mascot. Yeah, I was like, why did you do that? That was a great.
Not voting for Cock Commander.
How hot is it today?
Ooh, it's about hot as Satan's balls out here. I'm gonna tell you that much.
Do you know who Lane Kiffin is?
Who kind of look like Lane Kiffin? Blue 42. Blue 42. Judas Wells. Sucks.
Juice Wells, you are gonna have it tonight.
How do you guys feel about Dabo Sweeney?
The name that shall not be mentioned in Columbia, South Carolina.
Dabo Sweeney, he is the scum of the earth.
I hope he himself with white shorts, baby.
Beamer's down here. Sweeney's up here.
Absolutely hate the man. All right.
You guys have a lot of anger in your hearts. Is it a requirement if you go to an SEC school or an SEC fan to wear this exact outfit? Khaki, polo, school logo.
If you want to come and you want to hang out with me, you better have this on. Like, I'm not joking. If I don't see a collared shirt and a pair of freaking khakis on you, it's not going to happen.
Dan, that was our trip to Columbia, South Carolina. Did I have a good time? I'm glad you asked. Not really. Not particularly. No. Highlight of the trip was watching Alabama lose on my phone. But I did tour here when I was going to college, and I decided not to go. And I'm glad that I made that decision because I did not have fun today. But that's okay, because next week we're going to Oregon. And you know what time it is? It's game time. Download the Game Time app and use code Lucy for $20 off your first order. Terms apply.
Go Cox.